Oh là. Je vous demanderai de vous muter, messieurs. Je sais pas si vous m'entendez. Hello everyone. I hope you hear me okay. Um, just checking that everything is fine. Looking at the chat right now. Just let me know in the chat. All good? Okay. All good. Then thank you everyone for being here with me tonight, because it's already the night here in France, for this live stream about preparing a 3D model, a large size, as much as we can, 3D model with Lychee Slicer. During this stream, I will try to explain a lot of things. I would say, the strategy to prepare your 3D model. A lot of features. Obviously, I won't be able to cover 100% of the model, but at least all the main parts. I will try also my best to interact with you. I have some people from the team in the chat with me to answer most of your questions, and time to time, of course, I will do a short break to look at what is happening. And of course, moving forward, there is some echo. No? That's fine. I don't know. Let me know there is some echo. No? All good? Okay. Yeah, let's avoid some technical issue when starting this stream. Okay, then before starting Lychee Slicer, I would like to do a little bit of explanation about who I am. You may have seen that I'm the CEO of Lychee Slicer, of Lychee. Yeah, it's my home. I'm in my personal office. You see that in the background I have some figurines. It's been a while that I'm 3D printing. It's been now 12 years, something like that, I'm really interested in 3D printing. I'm a digital sculptor myself when I have some free time. I love preparing 3D models, and yeah, that's why I'm here at Lychee Slicer. Just a few words about my work, and it will help you to understand better what I'm doing. Again, oh, I think something is missing. We don't see the chats. Sorry, I will hide the chat. I will do that later. The chat is missing for you in the stream. Sorry about that. This is a figurine I sculpted myself in ZBrush a while ago now, doing that for a Japanese trade show, the Wonder Festival, if you know that. The figurine printing at that time with a Form 2 3D printer. It was a while ago. I'm more a sculptor, not really a painter, and sorry about that. Another model, perhaps some of you already seen this model, to be for Nier Automata, based on a 3D concept. I did a lot of parts because, of course, I'm sculpting, but I understand the concept of 3D printing. Then I prepare my model to be sure it will be easy to assemble, but also doing the sanding, the post-process, and all of that. Then this is a paint version of the model. You have a Coca-Cola can, just to give you a sense of the size, why I'm speaking about printing large size 3D models, 3D prints, because now we have large size 3D printers. Then let's try to do something as big as possible. Another one, this Demon Queen, which is a model I sculpted also some time ago, that I really enjoy, and a painted version I did also. This is a version 2, and perhaps we will share this model soon for everyone. Also, I'm doing some cosplay stuff. This is a Kylo Ren helmet I sculpted in ZBrush with multiple parts. I also did the lightsaber, then everything not sculpted, modeled in ZBrush, then painted, me of course with the helmet in Los Angeles there. And also I'm printing 3D model from other people. This is A2 from Nier Automata, a model, a very great model I printed at the maximum size for a Mega 8K from Frozen. Also you see some stuff in the background as a reference. Another one from Dragon Ball C18 and Vegeta also. This type of model, Godzilla, not really Godzilla, but a model from Lord of the Print. I really enjoy what they're doing. They are French. And you can see another can. Another model of Bayonetta. I really like this game. I really like the character design. And you see with a can, a small can, I did this model also a while ago, not sculpted. It's from Ella Arts. Now it's another, this is Nom Nom Studio, now Patreon. And now another version that we will prepare tonight from 3D Moonn, which can allow me to do this presentation with his model. I will share just in a few seconds the link in the chat if you want, of course, to get access to this 3D model. And you see, you can grab it on Gumroad, another website where you can purchase this model online. I really like it. And then now let's start in Lychee Slicer and prepare all of that for everyone with a lot of explanations and all of that. Let me just edit quickly my UI because, like I said, you don't have the chat. I'm very sorry, something is not going well. Let me just edit everything. This is the last minute bugs. Sorry, then I will switch full screen. And you will see me slightly smaller in the corner of the interface. Okay, sorry, I very hard time placing that in the small UI. Okay, then like I said, I will try to explain everything, and I mentioned the large size file format for a 3D printer. Of course, you have multiple types of 3D printers. You have small one, I would say like a Mars 3 or 3 Pro. It can be, of course, equivalent at any cubic. But I will go for, I would say, a very common file size, the middle size printers, like the Saturn 2 or Saturn 8K, the Frozen Mighty 8K, the M3 Premium from Anycubic, or the Mono X 6K, and so on. And also for this project, of course, I won't be able to do the print during the live stream, but I will use another printer which is not released. Let me share you that, which is the Athena 3D printer. It will be a Kickstarter starting very soon. We have it at the office, and it's not like doing a specific promotion, but it has a lot of very great features, like a force sensor, which accelerates the 3D printing process. It's really amazing. This is also an 8K printer. Let me share all of that also in the chat if you want to look at that. Then on my end, the print will be done on multiple printers because I have multiple parts, multiple plates. It will be a way, of course, I'm lucky to have multiple printers, to print all of that faster, and on 8K printers to have as much as possible details and, I would say, a quality 3D print. Okay. Let me look quickly. There is some questions about all of that in the chat. I don't see anything specific. Then I will let my the team reply to all your comments. Just before moving forward, like I said at the beginning, I want. I mean, a lot of tasks are kind of repetitive, doing always the same thing. Then I will try to focus on what is key items, and let's say she has 2 legs, I will just do one and not the others because this is exactly the same. Perhaps some orientation will be different, but roughly this is the same. Then I'm in Lychee Slicer version 5.1.8, the latest stable version of Lychee Slicer, and I already loaded all the files, the STL files that I just, of course, I downloaded after doing my purchase. And first thing that you may notice, and sorry, I will not really go into details about explaining how is working Lychee Slicer, at least not the very basic. I will go more at just explain that as a real user, like I will do, of course, for myself. And like I said, I just loaded the STL files, and what I can see at this first stage is that all my 3D models are in red. When you have a 3D model in red in Lychee Slicer, it means that you have topology issues. The 3D structure of the model have some issues. Most of the time, it's small holes and things like that. This is key and very crucial to fix your model as much as possible. In Lychee Slicer, you can select all your models, or one after the other if you want, and you have the repair function located in the layout workspace, the repair 3D model, and you can launch the process. Most of the time, Lychee Slicer will fix all your models, but if Lychee Slicer is not able to fix your model, it's because it's kinda, I would say, messy in terms of structure. Then at this stage, you may need to edit your 3D model, or perhaps going to a more advanced fixing software like Netfab, which provide a trial version, or also Fusion 360, to fix all your models, and it should do the job if it's very, very complex. But as you can see, I just fixed all my models, and everything is in blue. Why you need to fix your model is because some algorithm, like the final slicing, if there is some holes, it's not a volume, may think that something is wrong. The model is kinda infinite, and it will go on the other side. It will do some type of supports going down to the platform. That's why sometimes we see users, oh, I have extra supports. No, you didn't fix your model, you have holes, and then it generates some unexpected stuff while printing. Okay, then now my model are ready to be edited, and what is very important for me is to again print at the maximum size. I'm right now with the Lego Saturn II as my selected 3D printer. I can go in my 3D printer panel. As you can see, I have multiple printers. This is my personal account that I'm using right now with multiple printers. You can see also some printers which has been announced 2 days ago, like the Lego Mars 4 DLP, which will be available in the next update of Lychee Slicer. I'm already printing with this printer. Then Saturn II, and I selected my current resin. I will work for now in 50 microns resolution, but I will probably print at 30 microns resolution. Why I'm working at 50 microns? Because to be honest, you can prepare your model when it's a large size at 50 microns. If you print at 30, you won't have any type of difference. Perhaps some tiny islands may be missing, but at this scale, and I will speak a lot about the islands later, it's not that problematic. Then 50 microns, I will use mainly the frozen aqua gray 8K resin. I really love this printer personally, and perhaps some print will be done with the Cyratech Fast Navi Gray, but what will be sure for me is, because I will print on multiple printers, I will try to use the same resin for all the parts which go together. Perhaps I will print the base, which is in 4 parts, that you will see later, with one resin, and then all the 3D model with another resin. Try to be consistent when you do all of that. Okay, then I'm in my printer, and like I said, I want to print at a maximum size. Then how I can find this size, or just as an example now, is my print quite large or not, as is if I want to print it. And a small feature which is not really known by a lot of people, if you use the Move tool, you have a sub tool, an accessory of feature, which is original file position. If you click on it, it will just put all the 3D file to their original position where it has been created in a sculpting or 3D modeling software. It doesn't work all the time, because if the creator move all the files everywhere before exporting, it will not work. But as you can see for this model, it just put everything in place like when it was exported. And then I can, why not doing a rotation out of 90 degrees, like that it's well oriented. I can move my 3D model around, I would say, the center of my build plate. And even like that, okay, let me look at the size. If you don't know that, in Lychee Slicer, we have in the export the at scale, banana for scale, which will help you to see, okay, this print is already, as is, quite big. But again, I would like to do something bigger, and okay, perhaps 150%. I go back in layout, I will use a scale, and I don't know, doing something like that roughly. And as you can see, I'm at 165% roughly. Let me just move that to the top, like this. I will go back in my export panel, and now it's quite bigger. But okay, it's nice, it's big, but is it the maximum size for my 3D printer? To do that, it's not very complex, but you need to think a little bit about some constraint. Let me go back in the layout section and look at which part of the 3D model is the biggest one. And I need to see if I scale that at a maximum, if it will fit or not the 3D printer. I will hide multiple models. I will just keep, okay, I know which model are the biggest one. You have the legs. Okay, the leg, as is, like I said, it's 165%. It's quite big. If you want to move it like that, even if you want to scale and all of that, you can trick slightly but it will not fit your 3D printer. You can turn, but whatever you will do will be a problem. Oh, by the way, I forgot. I always switch back to the orthographic view and not perspective to prepare my model. It's maybe not as nice as perspective, but at least you know if it will fit your building volume. I press the 0 key on my keyboard, or you can go in the view cube on the top right. You have the small gear icon and you can switch between orthographic or not. By the way, someone asked me today, oh, is it possible to flip the camera? Yes, you can flip the camera and work like your printer will print if you want. Anyway, I will go back to the regular mod. This one is quite big. Okay, 165%, like I said before. What was the size? Exactly, I said, yeah, 165. I know I can go bigger. Let's look at other model. Another one are these bases. Oh, I think oh no. Let me just hide this one. Okay, you see the bases as well are quite big. And what will be important, and I will talk a lot about the orientation, is to find that, okay, this one, if I turn like that, it will fit the height, no issue at all. But at least on the depth and the width of the 3D printer, it may be quite difficult. These other bases are, oh, this one is big, this one is small. This one, will I be able to rotate it like that? Maybe kind of difficult, and also it's already on the top. And this one, I know it fits, but this one, maybe tricky. In fact, I will not lose too much time, but I need to find, like you can see, what will be the best orientation. And to make it working at right now, sorry, I'm at 165. In fact, I did some check before. I can go up to 175% for all my models and say, oh, but the legs was already too big. I'll come back later about this this particular point. Then I need to find the best orientation for my model to be sure that it will fit there. Sometimes you need to slightly, going in this direction and turning like that. Okay, and now I think it will work. You see, and now it fits my build platform. Then, now I know, sorry, like I said, I cheat a little bit. It will work, but I have my problem with my legs, like I said before. Sorry, I just need to select my legs. Where are you, my legs? There. And it will not fit. Then what I will do, I will cut my model to be sure that I will be able to print at a larger size. I will change my orientation, I would say for now. Let's say like that. Go back to the original orientation roughly. And I will go to 175%. It's bigger. And I will use, in the tool, Planar Cut tool. The Planar Cut tool will warn you that, okay, what you will do, you may lose some information. I don't know, let's say you did some hollowing. It will ask you, do you want to bake the hollowing or just remove the hollowing? You have islands, it will remove the islands because it will just change your 3D model structure. Then let me start. This is quite basic in the way to use the software, the feature, sorry. This is an infinite planar plane, like that. You define the position and orientation. Now you select the cutout. I just want to keep this one for this leg. Apply. And after a fraction of a second, my model has been split in two parts. I will do the same for the other leg. And I will use my Planar Cut tool. Same information window pop-up. Like that. I can go on this direction, perhaps turning like this. Okay, good. And you can in fact skip the cutout selection because I just have one cutout. I can apply right away. It will skip the selection stage because it's only one part. And now my legs, which have been prepared as a single model but quite big, I can work in multiple modify that in multiple parts. Sorry, I was not clicking on the good. Okay, then what I will do now, just to save some time, oh no, I will do something else, sorry. I will just explain the orientation of the model to prepare the support. Let me just look at the chat. I don't know, Julian, if I have some question that I need to look at, let me know. But I think so far, okay, Julian told me that everything is fine. Okay, about the planar cut tool, we are working on it to improve it. I can't tell you more, but more will come in the future. I really like this tool because this is very convenient, as you can see, easy to use. This is quite fast to split your model. Now that I define the scale of my model, what will be the maximum size, I will need to define what will be the best orientation. But first, let me rescale all my models. What I can do, I can select everything, including models which are hidden right now, going in the scale, and oh, sorry, I was already in 175. Let me just tweak slightly, like that. And all my models, like this cute base, like this one or this one, you see, are at 175%. Okay. Now, what will be important will be to oops, where is my, oh, my head is there, okay, because I rescale everything. What I will do will be hop, move on platform, like that, and I will probably move all the file in the good position. Let me start with just the head, okay? And I will come back to the head after that. My head, where are you? Should have renamed my 3D models. As you can see, it's at the center of my platform, printer volume. And the key thing, if you want to save some time and of course have successful print, is to really define well your orientation of your 3D model. Is it do you need to rotate your head to the top or the side? You need to consider, what we'll talk later, are the potential islands, or if you can easily remove some supports and so on. The problem with this 3D model, that I really like the final design, but you won't have a lot of, I mean, there is not a lot of different parts. You see, for the head, you have the hairs, you have the glasses, and it may be tricky. Okay, and another thing, because I will print for a large size 3D printer, it will be, like I said, a lot of resin. It will be very important to hollow your model, to save on material. And also another reason, which is very important, something that you need to keep in mind, is hollowing has two purposes. Two purposes. One of them is, of course, to save some material, but sometimes it's not worth it, because you will just save, I don't know, 1 or 2 milliliters of resin, but it brings technical issues, I would say, like suction cups and all of that. But the other reason is, when you have a large size print, if you don't have a hollowing, the peeling part, the slice of your print for the current layer will be a lot of pixels, and when your printer will try to unstick, to peel your layer from the FEP film down your resin tank, it will be a lot of strength applied on that. And if your FEP is not an NFEP, non-FEP, or FEP 2.0, whatever the name they call that now, it may be difficult. Then this is where layer lines also can appear or fail print, because you have too much strength which is needed to unstick your model, and then if you have too thin support, they will potentially break. Okay. Then now, for this 3D model, like I said, I will work on the orientation. Let me just hide my object list. And what will... Yes, Julian? What you need to define will be the orientation for reducing, I would say, the need of islands and also having an easy access to your support, to the 3D model for your supports, then tilting the head on the back will avoid support on the front side of the 3D model. Another reason is because I will hollow the 3D model and I need to find some position where I will put the holes to drain my resin. Okay, then I will go in something like that, but before that I need to lift slightly my model to leave some room for the 3D support just below. Then I go in prepare section, I will select my support tool, and in utility you have the lift function. I lift my 3D model to 5 mm, which is the default value. And now I'll be able to start working on this 3D model. I will spend a little bit of time on this one, and for all the other parts, of course, I will be a lot faster. The first thing I will do will be to create first the hollowing, but even before that, I will use my clipping bar and see, okay, what do I see when I'm moving up and down and trying to see if something may be problematic. As an example, I start with the part of the model, and below I have a lot of different shapes, rounded shapes, which represent the hairs of Bayonetta, and potentially a lot of separate islands. No choice, I will have to support them at some point. The other thing I need to look at when I will go up are where are the main islands, I would say, each part of the 3D model which are separate, which grow separately before joining together. You see we have some part there, there, and there, and how fast they connect to everything else. Like this one, you see it was there and then connect to this part on this area. The other one, the neck, some part of hairs which appear there. By the way, you can use the up and down arrow keys to go up and down, but if you press the shift key at the same time, you will go 5 by 5 layers for all of that. And the problem I see right now are the ears there, I don't know, the earrings, if I'm not wrong for the name, sorry for my vocabulary, and I think the glasses, the Google glasses there, glasses, sorry, which start on this location. Then this is what I see as an issue. Then it will be a mix of support, mini support, and all of that. Then, like I said a few minutes ago, I will do my hollowing to, of course, consider this hollowing. Perhaps I will have some other issues because of that. Right now, let me just estimate the resin volume, just to have a clue about how many resin I will need. Roughly, I would say 60 milliliters of resin. You have that down the screen. I hope you see that just below my the camera there. And I will go in hollowing, and most of the time I'm using the 3D hollowing because I like to control also the support inside, but sometimes I'm using also the 2D hollowing. 3D hollowing is a pro version of Lychee Slicer. And then when it comes to the values, the head is not very heavy, there is not a lot of things on the top. I will go to roughly a 2 mm thickness. And for the quality, someone asked the question a few days ago on the Discord server, where we invite you to go. In the quality, define how accurate is the hollowing inside the surface. In fact, the higher you go with this value, the more polygon you will have, and then it will be more accurate, but takes also a longer time to compute. I will go to roughly 3, like that, add update. There. If you use the clipping bar, you see that the hollowing has been computed. And now, we need to consider, before doing all the support work, where do we put these drain holes? It's very, very important to consider them because, like I said, we have an hollowing. We will save some resin. Like I said, now let me just estimate the resin volume. You will save some resin. You switch from 60 milliliter to 25, let's say roughly, milliliter. It's worth it to do that. And it was only the head. But you have a lot of things to consider for the 3D hollowing. Is, of course, these drain holes. The drain holes need to be placed as close as possible as to the beginning of your hollowing. The easy way will be to put a hole, let's say in the neck, there, and okay, that's done. I put a hole, and that's totally fine. I will be able to drain my resin and put in some IPA alcohol to clean my model after that. Okay. But are we sure or not? If we use a clipping bar, you can see that this hollowing will start there at roughly 9 millimeter, and then more and more hollowing until the drain hole, which will start to do its job at this stage. And everything that you see below is in fact a big suction cup. And suction cups are something that you really must avoid when you are doing your 3D print. Why? Because it will just suck to your FEP, or when the build plate will go down, it will put a lot of pressure on your model. And this is where most of the time beginners don't know that, but they have the tip of the support which will break, or the model will explode. Some may have some big cuts, splits, a multiple position, because you have so many pressure that it will just break. Then you must avoid as all cost, I would say, the hollowing. That's the suction cup. That's why, like I said before, if you have a small model, sometimes it's not worth it to do a hollowing, because you will save almost no resin and you may add some complexity. Then how I can detect all of that? Let me use, in the Pro version, in the hollowing, you have the suction cup detector. You run it, and it will show you in yellow all the suction cup that you have. And you can see I have a lot of them. Why? Because it starts to disappear where I have my hole. Then as soon as you do 3D hollowing in Lychee Slicer, please use the suction cup detector. It's really, really useful. Now, how to fix that? Then I can put another hole there. Why there? Sorry, the suction cup detector makes the visibility a little bit more complex, I guess, for the stream. Here, because it will be a part which will be cut, I guess, around the shoulders, then it won't be visible if I put some holes on this location. And now let me run again the suction cup detector. And as you can see, it finds some small suction cups on this location and still a big one there. What I can do, I can add more holes, perhaps having a smaller one. What I did here was to press the space bar. The holes, like the supports, have an advanced mode. If you press the space bar or clicking on this advanced mode, you can switch by just clicking and dragging, or having this 3D manipulator where you can quickly change some settings, like the penetration, the depth of my hole there, like that. Is it okay or not? Not very sure. Let me use my clipping bar. And oh, you see my hole? Nice, but penetration is not enough. I'm going more increase the penetration, and I will run again suction cup detector, and now I have less suction cups. I have some of them here and there. The thing is, when they are quite small, it's not a big deal. It's when they start to be quite big. But if you want to avoid some other issue, let's say I'm moving there, here for this front part for the hairs, you can also use the hollowing blockers. I don't know if you know this feature, but the idea is to create locally some 3D primitive cubes, spheres, and so on, to say, oh, on this location of my 3D model, sorry, I don't want to have a 3D hollowing. Then I go in this editor, I will put in position a kind of cube. I'm able to scale it like that, change slightly the height, and looking by using my clipping bar. Okay, then no, can go there up to this stage, and after that the hollowing will work. Why? Because you see, now it will be just a small part, or I can even go slightly higher like that, and now everything is fine. Then everything in this cube will be ignored by the hollowing, and I will avoid creating this suction cup on this location. Was it worth it for this model? I don't think so. I think the print will work fine, but this is a tool that you need to keep in mind. Or sometimes you may have some air pockets or resin pockets in some location. Let's say you have a small part which grow and then being thinner and grow. Sometimes you don't want to have a very, a little bit of resin which will remain inside of your model. Why? Because if you forget them, after some time, your resin will expand slightly or may break, and it's not good to keep some liquid resin inside of a solid resin. Then this is a good tool. When I'm done, I click on Exit. Lychee Slicer will update my 3D hollowing, and if I run again the suction cup detector, you see that everything has been removed there. Okay. Now what I will do, I will add a little bit more holes. Then perhaps you see I put one here, another one here, and probably another one there. Okay, I can change slightly the rotation. Okay, like that. Why do I put extra holes on my 3D model? Could say, oh, just one on the neck and the one to remove the suction cup effect. I'd add more because the more holes you have, the better will be the flow of the air and the flow of the resin while printing during the spinning process, and also to clean your model after that. It will be also even easier. Then don't be afraid about adding more holes to your 3D models, and the bigger is your model, the easier to be to add these holes. And yeah, you will see it's quite convenient. Now I'm done with the hollowing. Let me show all of these suction cup. I will delete all of them because I don't need them anymore. Okay, like that. And my model, I would say, for everything which is related to hollowing, orientation, I would say, is done. Now we'll start my support stuff. Sorry, it's a very long first step, but it's very important, like I said, to prepare everything. If you start to prepare all your supports and after that you forgot the hollowing or suction cup and all that, it may break your workflow. Then I really go step by step like that, and I do that for all my models. I prefer losing a little bit of time at the beginning and not losing too much time at the end. Okay, let me go to the, oh sorry, I forgot. For the hollowing, I know that I have the hollowing blocker. In the blocker, you have this show wireframe. You can click on off, and then it will be removed on your, removed from the 3D display of Lychee Slicer. It's still here, just hidden. Okay. I'm sure I missed a lot of questions. And yes, I agree, Guillaume, suction cup sucks. I totally agree on that. Okay, let me just, sorry, I'm thinking about the flow of everything. Okay, for this 3D model, like I said, I will prepare everything before switching to something else. Then what I will need to do now will be the islands. Let me just load, I think this is this model. The head. Okay, oh shit. In fact, let me just go back. I thought I prepared my, sorry, I had some technical issue at home, not on the computer before. I was late to prepare my stream. Let me just reload the 3D model. And sorry to reload everything in the background. Then let me just look at the chat meanwhile, while it's loading. Joe, not yet. For the planar cut, I guess this is what you were asking. Okay, let me go back to this 3D model there, and let me just delete everything for now. No, I will keep everything, sorry. Okay, prepare, and now to prepare all my support stuff, the first thing I will do will look at the islands of my 3D model. the island detector, I think a lot of people know that, but not everyone. It will just look at all the layers and find if there is some pixels, a group of pixels which are alone connecting to nothing. Most of the time, this is when you have, let's say, a hand like that, the fingers going to the looking down to the build plate, and you need to have support to connect them because they will just fall. I mean, not unstick. You really need to connect everything to the build plate. As an example, here, if you look at the first layer there, you see that these polygons need to be connected to supports. Then in Lychee Slicer, you can use the island detector, which will analyze all the layers of the 3D model, and then look at all these islands. For the sake of the speed of this stream, and I hope that I will not break during the stream. By the way, sorry, my computer may be slow, but I'm doing the stream and I'm recording the stream at the same time on the same computer while using a lot the graphic card right now to do this computation. Then you may see some slowdown time to times with Lychee Slicer. Okay, you see all my islands have been detected, and right now this is quite a lot, 142 islands. If you want to save some time for the island detector, you can use, if you have the Pro version, the batch tool, which will let you select files. I don't know if you noticed when I started to load my 3D model, I split all the models separately as 3D, as separate 3D objects. And then you can run the batch tool. You select a folder. It will look at all the files, eventually all STL files, and will do a lot of pre-process operation like repairing your 3D model, changing the scale, the rotation, doing 3D hollowing, lifting the model, parenting, bracing, raft, analyzing the islands and everything. Then you do that, you take a coffee, you come back later, and everything has been prepared to go to the next step of your process. And don't forget about the batch tool, which is very convenient. And you can ask all the people who do pre-supported model, that they use quite a lot this batch tool. Okay, then now let's start the fun part of this live stream, supporting everything. Sorry, I didn't forget about the 3D model orientation, because when I will switch back to other model, I will speak a lot about these orientations. But let's do the whole process for now. And by the way, Julian, feel free to interrupt me if I need to look at the chat. There is no problem for that. Okay, my 3D model, and as you can see, we have islands in annoying parts, like the ears there, like I said, the earrings, the hairs, okay, the glasses, and so on. And you will see that I'm very, I'm not very strict when it comes to islands. I see a lot of people, I did an analysis of my model and I have a 2-pixel island somewhere. Keep in mind, and we will show that later, that sometimes your support tip is way bigger than your islands, and if your island is connected to something else on your model, and we will see that probably a lot in this 3D model, it's not worth it. If it's a few pixels for a couple of layers, it won't be visible at all. And right now I'm preparing everything in 50 microns, but in reality I will put it in 30 microns. Then all layer will be very, very thin. Then before moving forward, let me just speak a little bit about the support parameters that I will use for this project. I have the light, medium, and heavy preset of Lychee Slicer. On purpose, I just did a reset of all my parameters to be on default like everyone. I will just tweak slightly things. The most important thing that you need to consider when you do large size 3D printer is don't be, I'm afraid, is it greedy? I'm not very sure, but don't try to save money with your 3D print. I see so many people trying to avoid putting some support or using smaller tip size, because smaller tip size means the surface of the contact points are smaller, it's easier to sand. Yeah, but if you start to have some failed prints at this size, you will lose a lot of resin. You will need to clean your resin tank and all of that, FEP. It's not worth it. Then as soon as you start to go higher than, I would say, 12, 15 centimeters, try to save too much on resin by putting less support and all of that. Meaning that on purpose, for this type of model, in opposition to miniature or minis, I will use quite some thick contact points. Then by default, for my medium size, I will go more to 0.5 millimeters, and my diameter for the support itself, I will go to 1 millimeter. And I will go in, I will save this preset as a default one. I click on the small gear icon and I will save that. I will simply override the default setting with what I have right now. But before doing that, let me show you that something there. There is other parameters that I can save at the same time. If you see my support, I put just a random support somewhere. You have other parameters when you are using the Pro version of Lychee Slicer, like you can customize the tip, penetration, breakpoint, and all of that. Also the base. And for the base, I will use a joint cone. I will put roughly like 1 millimeter. It's a cone which will do the transition between the base and the support, which is better and avoid some, sometimes some support may break. There is multiple reasons, but may break just at the connection between the raft and your support, or the base and the support. I really like using this joint cone, and it doesn't really add a lot of resin. Okay, I put the jump cone, and now I can say, okay, medium, like I said, override. And now my preset has been override. For the lights, I will go more on 35 millimeter. I will stick to 1 millimeter, and it should be fine. You will see that I will use roughly almost only medium support for a large size model. And light, I'll go there, and sorry, light, override, done. Sorry, I forgot the base, same thing. This is the same stuff. Then I override my model, and now for the heavy, I will also put my 1 millimeter joint cone, and then I will not go to, I will go more to 0.7 and 1.3 millimeter for the diameter, and I will, like before, so each time I'm clicking on the icon to open it and not going down, and that's it. I will create other support, especially mini support preset after that, but let's do each thing, the one after the other. Then I have my mini support ready. Now I can move forward with all of that. Okay. Now, let's start with the beginning, and I would say my own strategy to support this type of model. I will look at which are really the key islands. What I mean by key islands are the islands where the model will really start to grow and may support big part of the model, not tiny islands which are very close to something else. I know that my model is starting from there, perhaps there, and look at really the beginning. Then I put one support, another support. Say, oh, why you put two support so close to each other's? Because they are the first one, I really want to be sure that it will work and not doing a parenting or a mini support on this location. Like I said, I know it will be very important, then I'll stick to something that probably will work well. And at this stage also, I will add a lot of supports, and I don't care really for the beginning what will be the path and all of that. You can go in visibility tool on the side and choose to display only the contact point of your support. You see now this is only the contact point, and you also have the small path which will appear, meaning that if you go on a specific location like that, you always see the support when you create, and after that you see the line. But at this stage, even myself, I don't need to see this line. Then visibility, you have the line toggle, I remove, and now I can focus only on adding all these points. Then I can add there, and you see that, oh, I have some support that I may need to add. This is, this line it's a preview of the layer, and the wider are this line, the closer it is to the horizontal orientation, then you need to put more and more support. But for now, let me just focus on, like I said, these main islands. You see this one, it's a small island. I won't deal with that for now. Really the beginning of my model and see that, okay, this one are really needed. Then, there, okay, like this one. And I know that, you see, this is a hairs. It has a lot of details. But something which is very important, let me just revert to the 3D print. And this is important to keep your the 3D model, I mean, a photo of the final print to see what will be visible or not. As you can see, for the hairs and the head, this part there will be under the shoulders. Then for this type of model, I don't really care about the details that we'll have under my model. You see, then for me, the most important is that this part of the model will stick to the objects. What will be more visible? Maybe more on the back, behind the head, where it will be perhaps more visible. And that's why sometimes we try to do a very good job by doing very clean support and all of that. It won't be visible. Then why spending too much time on that? For me, what will be more visible will be probably this part back of the head. But the figurine will be displayed probably like I have in the background with a wall behind the figurine, or in a shelf or whatsoever. Is it worth it or not? Then always ask you this question, what will be visible or not? That's why I have no issue about adding too many supports, perhaps a little bit too much at some point, but at least I know that my print will stick on my platform and it should be fine. By the way, if you want to know the distance between two supports, I don't know if you know that, but there you see I have this support. I can click on it to select it. And when I'm moving, just look down the screen on this location, you will see the distance. There I have 2.5 millimeters between my two supports. 2.5 is not that large. Okay, then this one are important, this one as well. Okay, I know for the neck it will start to sorry, I'm always saying it's growing. I don't know how to say that in English, but starting to print on this location. Okay, and another thing, let me switch back to all the support. When you need to keep in mind that when you are positioning your support on the surface of the 3D model, Lychee Slicer will try to go as much as possible being perpendicular, we call that as a normal, perpendicular to the surface of the model. Then depending of where you click, especially on the edge, then it goes in this direction because it's looking at this surface orientation, and then this one. But starting the model with support which are at 45 degrees, maybe not the best one. But what you can do is selecting these supports, and you can do a right click, and there you have multiple options like make support pillar or alt P, and then all the support will go down vertically. And why it's important? Because again, when the printer will unstick each time, all the forces applied to your 3D print during the printing process are vertical forces. That's why it's important to have as much as possible your support being as close as possible to a vertical orientation. Okay, let me continue quickly. There, okay, for this one. I may not support the whole model because I need to explain. Oh, I hope the stream is fine because I got some stuff from YouTube. Julian, if you can tell me if the stream is totally okay or not, to be good. Okay, there. This one is for the beginning. And you can say, oh, but when I do miniatures, I'm always adding a parent support or adding a mini. Not there, not for this large size 3D model. Just to give you an idea, I forget to explain. Okay, I forget to explain that this model there just for the head is 6.6 centimeter. I don't have, mute yourself, Julian, please. I don't have a ruler there. I'm sorry for that, but it starts to be quite consequent just for the head. And at this stage, you see I have more and more support, just I would say the key support, like I said before, like this one. I will have to support the beginning of each hairs like that. And now will be strategy of, do I need a real support or perhaps doing some parenting? Like, you know, as you see there, for the small hairs, 2 islands to consider. You see this one? I will create a new support just for this one. Why? Because if I'm going down, you see it starts to appear, this island appear, and the first layer are, I would say, growing again. Sorry, I don't know, growing is maybe not the best word, but I guess you understand what I mean. There, and then it's going more and more and more and more, and connect to another part of the model there. You see, at this layer. Then this support by itself need to help these whole parts growing, printing alone without being connecting to something else. The risk is you have one support and a big part going in this direction. You need to have more support. Then if this support is not even a full support, but I would say a mini support or a parent to something which is quite far, it may be problematic. It means that you may need to add other support, like one here, and by pressing the Alt key on your keyboard, you can create this type of support which will parent to something else. And if you want to do even something better, you can press the space bar and you have the advanced mode, and you can tweak slightly your support to go in a better direction. Then I supported this island with a specific support. Now let's look at this other island there, just on the top. If I'm pressing my up arrow key, you see that it starts there. First layer, you see these small pixels there. And as you can notice, in red, this is in error right now because it can't connect, but sorry, this is the tip of my support. You see how large is my support tip compared to the small pixel. That's why this is very important to, like I said before, consider that. And after few layers, it starts to connect. Let's say 10 layers. 10 layers at 50 microns, this is 0.5 millimeters. This is almost nothing. Then a mini support there should be enough. Or why not trying to connect to this support there. Okay. Or doing, like I said, a mini support. To do a mini support in Lychee Slicer, you need to use by default a hotkey, which is Alt and Control key together. You click and a first point and second point, and you can create your mini support there. The mini support also have its own settings. In the free version of Lychee Slicer, this is a regular tube. In the pro version, you see the mini, and you can change some parameters. For me, I will edit the tip diameter for the bottom tip to be at the maximum size, which will fit the support there, and the tip itself, the top tip, I will reduce that to be roughly 35 millimeters. Oh, sorry, did a typo. Okay, like that. I like these supports, presets. Then what I will do, I will create a new preset by clicking on this create button. I will call that mini. Oops, sorry. Okay, and my mini preset has been created. And we will do more and more analysis of support and islands and all of that. Really, this is very important to consider this type of things. And now, just to share you also a feature which is not well known in Lychee Slicer. If you go in the view cube, there you have the small gear icon, and you have the layer thickness preview. If you click on it, you will see a preview of all your layers in Lychee Slicer. Then what you see on screen there with all these lines are really what the layers will look like on your 3D printer. And sometimes you will understand better what is happening, especially there. You know, these first layers on your 3D model. Sorry, I just did a big zoom. Don't forget that you can press the F key to frame the view. It really zoom and replace the camera to have a better view. And you see all these layers. You see this one there. This is a full layer and a full one. Meaning that if you don't want to have too much deformations, you need to have more supports. You may have seen on some bases on 3D model or model which have flat areas, or if for some reason you print something parallel to the build plate, which you need to avoid, you may have the type of weird shapes around the support tips. It's because each time you have a layer, it's a very large layer with almost no support, and when it try to unstick to the FEP, you have deformations, and it creates this type of small mountains, I would say, attached to your tip. Then it's very important to understand your thickness for your 3D model. Okay. By the way, I know there is some French people. If you go on my personal Discord, I know it has been asked, and quite a lot. I will redo this stream in French at a later time. Okay, then, oops, sorry. Don't be afraid about using this functionality. It will slow down slightly your display, but it's really worth it. Then, if I continue about my supports, you may have other issues times. As an example, sorry, let me just remove the layer thickness for now. Like I said before, you have the ears and the earrings, I'm sorry for the name, that you need to put somewhere. Then no choice to put this mini support. And my mini support there is using my mini preset. But I don't want to have something as thick as that. Then feel free to change the parameters like this. And creating another preset for me. I will still keep this 0.5 because it will start from this mini support. And let me just type that 0.5. Okay. And I will create a new mini pillar. This is the way I'm calling them. And I can use this preset as much as I want. And then trying to create other supports like that, like there. Mini pillar. You see, visibility sometimes is kinda tricky. Or you can use the click and drag like this to position your 3D model, your supports like that. And you see, when I say this is tricky, okay. The most complex part would be for me not to put the support, but to remove the support after that, to go with my pliers, nippers going there. Then you need to have multiple tools. My tools are not there, I'm sorry, I think they are in the kitchen, but I have a bunch of tools to remove all the supports. Then don't be afraid about using mini supports. Don't forget also that you may need more mini supports. Why? Because mini supports by definitions are I would say kinda fragile, I would say, weak. Weak because, oh, I can't access this one. Oh. I think I put the small tip inside of my 3D model. Okay, like that. I change my position. Then don't be afraid of adding mini support, but try to avoid one mini support. Why? Again, use the clipping bar. The clipping bar is really your best friend. Don't forget about that, because you see it starts to grow there, and quickly this part will grow all alone before connecting there. But you know, the earrings is still alone, connected to nothing. What you can do is trick a little bit the system, I would say, by adding a support. You see, oops, not a real support, a mini support, like there, like this. it will be behind your 3D model, not visible on your final print. And like that, you have a lot of control on your print. Let me put that, sorry, finding the best point of view like this. And now it's done. Okay, I will not do the other here like that, because of course this is time consuming. And obviously for everything else, you can add your support. And speaking about supports, still about the hairs, like that, if you go there, it tries to do a support object to object. I really I really want to avoid them as much as possible. Why? Because if you have a support like this mini starting from the 3D model, wherever they are, it will leave, some support marks impact on 2 locations and only 1 location. Then I try to avoid as much as possible, meaning that if I want to, and that's why orientation is key, I can find which support, you see, will try to connect to my 3D model. And as you can see, Lychee Slicer, as much as possible, is trying to find a path which will go to the ground, but a path which will work. You see, to be as vertical as possible and avoiding having angles which are way too flat, too close to the horizontal. And when I'm done at this stage, I can add more supports like that. And there, oh, what's going on? I have a Lychee Slicer created from what I asked the software to do. I forced the creation of 3D supports, but it connects and it intersects with the geometry. As you can see there, you have the collision detection which has been enabled. When you see a support in red, also again in the Pro version of Lychee Slicer, it means that your support will just connect to the 3D model and it will merge when it will print. Something that you need also to consider, it's a proximity detection, not a collision detection. Why this is a proximity? Because you need to have a minimum distance between your support and the 3D model. Because sometimes you may have few pixels without connection, but when you print, there is a high chance that because of the expansion of the resin, it will merge together. What I can do there is switching to the the advanced mode and editing like that my support, and you see now it's not anymore in red color. Then don't be afraid of trying to do some supports like that, and why not, after that, connecting some mini supports on this location, why not doing some fans, more support there, and you may have enough, I have a mouse wheel which have some inertia system, which is really annoying. That's why sometimes it's go really far. Okay, then you see this process. I'm adding more and more supports, and each time it's a strategy for everything which is kinda complex. Why? Because for other parts like the neck on this location, you may need to have. It will be a lot more easier. By the way, you see I added this mini supports. I was still in mini pillar mode. I can switch back to this mini preset, like this one, not this one, this one, and switching to mini preset. By the way, don't forget that Lychee Slicer is keeping in memory what was your last support preset. If I want to create, I don't know, a support there, you see, it created a support, but it's using my mini preset, not the medium preset. Okay, then don't be afraid about clicking on medium, not afraid, but don't forget to click on this medium, and then you can add more support. And if you want to be faster, in Lychee Slicer you have the the support painting mode. If you click and drag, it will create support on a regular distance. This regular distance is specified in the manual tab. And you have support painting, and by default the interval between all my support are 4 millimeters. I will change that to be 2 millimeters. Why? Because it's very close to millimeter. Perhaps it would be too much. Let's see. No, not that much. And then I can go around and adding all my supports. You see, like this. Let me switch back to contact point and adding more support manually. Why I'm putting so many support on the head like that? Why? Because it will be a big part, and also I want to avoid as much as possible deformation. This part has been cut and need to connect as well as possible to another part of the model, the torso there. And if I put not enough support, like I said, I may have some deformations. If you look at my 3D model, my angle, let me switch to another point of view, see the progression of my model there is fine, but it's a kind of a steep angle, and it may not be very, very good. Then the more, the better. I can put some support there on the back of the neck. It won't be visible. I will not even try to send this support on this location. Like that, the neck is, I would say, enough supported, like that. Okay. And while I continue, sorry, I will not support, I would say, the hairs there and there, because this is the same as everything else. The same for this part, the same as what I explained before for the other support. Oh, what did I do? I think no, they are here, sorry. My support. Now we'll focus on other part, like the glasses and this type of parts. Why? Because it will be very visible. And sometimes it may be very tricky to do, this support. You see, on the right side of the glasses, it tried to put some support, and there it tried to connect to a mini support to the model. Why? Because Lychee Slicer can't find a path to go to the ground. Or it can find a path, but the path may be, the support may be too far from the 3D model. What I usually do is to create a regular support, like this one. Okay, let me switch back to all the support, like this. I can create other supports, like this. Another one, which will go there. Oh, collision detection there. Let me switch to medium support, because I thought I was in medium support. I was not. Why? This one may be too close to, I don't know. Okay, so glass there. Then what you can do, moving this part, this one here, and you see, like this. I fix the problem. And as you can notice, I have a lot of support, 3 supports. Later, what I will do, I will do some bracing to connect everything. I can also even select this part and trying to be closer to these other supports. Like that, it will be more a vertical pillar for this part of the support. And to support everything else, what I can do my mini support. I can go there, and with Alt and Control key pressed, I can add my mini support. I can even add a little bit more, like that. Like this. And oh, I think I have the collision detection, which works, as you can see, also with the mini supports. If we look at the clipping bar, you see, it's very, very close to the surface of my model. You see the support there. They are very, very, very close. In fact, a little bit too close. This one is very risky. This one is very risky. Then I think I will just delete it. And this one going a little bit higher on the 3D model, like that. Now let's look at the island. The island came back. Okay. This is, I think, a good example to explain why you need to focus on the islands, but not that much. Like I said, this is 50 microns layers. And as you can see, if I really zoom in a lot, you have this mini support. As a reminder, the tip is 0.35 millimeters, 350 microns, and you have few pixels. If you go in view, clipping view, I'm right now in a pixel perfect mode. Also, this is a feature in the Pro version. It may be not the nicest display for the each layer, but it shows you the real resolution of the screen of the 3D printer. Then your pixels on, right now I'm on the Saturn II, will be at this size there. Then as you can see, this is almost nothing. As also a reminder, on this 8K printer I will use then the Athena printer, the Saturn II and Mighty 8K. The resolution is roughly 28 microns for a pixel. I think a hair is 70 or 100 microns depending of your ethnics and all of that. And it's almost nothing. Then going up, and on the second layer, then 0.1 millimeter, it connects to the other support. And this one are partially supported. And next one, on the third layer, it started to connect to this other support, and then this support, and so on. What I mean is, it's not worth it to add a mini support or whatsoever for these few pixels as soon as they connect to something else after a few layers. If you add more support, you may have this issue, that potential issue of having a support which will be too close to the surface of the face, as an example, and will be problematic when you will want to sand, because it will just scratch your surface, and it won't be very, very good. Then try to avoid putting too many supports. Then going up like that, it doesn't prevent you to do an extra support on this location there, or why not? No, it doesn't work at all. I wanted to do something there, like that. You see, and if you want to support mini support, add mini support, you can do that here. Many. And if you want to do this, these trees, this support, these fans, this is very easy in Lychee Slicer. Let me just undo. I created this mini support. I press Ctrl Alt key, first click, and I connect to my other support just below. Regular support. I use my current preset for the mini support. And while this support is selected, you can press the Ctrl and Shift key, Ctrl Shift key, and now you can just click to create more mini supports like that. And now it's done. Okay. I can continue with all of that. What I will explain now, I will not do everything on the 3D model, because I think you understand everything. I will just do a little bit of part of the hairs below, and speaking about parenting and bracing. If you look at the supports there, we just created for the glasses. They are very close to each other. I can move them to snap them together if I want, or this one is kinda alone, and they are moving up, 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 and connect, and they will need to support these glasses and quite a lot of shape of 3D model before connecting to the other part of the head. If you want to be sure it will not move, because the higher will be the support, the risk that they will move slightly during the pinning process. And then this is when you have these shifting layers which will appear, this line which appears because you don't have enough supports, or your supports are too far from the base, not enough bracing, not enough stability for your supports. Then what I can do is I can select this support and this one as an example, and in the manual support you have the bracing. It will add some bracing. Sometimes it will not do some bracing because it starts to connect, I would say, the top. And since I selected multiple support, I may have a little bit of bracing. Feel free to select something if you want, you see, like that, and Lychee Slicer will be able to remove this extra bracing. Or a small tip, you see these two supports which have been braced together, they are on the same line. And the problem is that same line, yes, but it can move on another direction. This is great when you have a large size 3D model with long support to have a basis which is as much as possible a triangle or a square, not only a line. Then why not connect it to another support like this one next to each other? I can do some bracing, which is that I added some bracing. Or you can add what we call a cathedral, like in a church, support. You press the Alt key and you double click on the support, and it creates this extra support which will go to the ground. You can, if you want, move this base if you want, like this, and creating some bracing like that to connect all of that. Then this extra support is not to support the model, it's here to support the bracing and bring some stability. And remember, I said at the beginning of this stream that don't try to save money with resin by putting less and less support. What is important for me is the success of my 3D print. I prefer to put a little bit more supports and having a nice print. Of course, it will cost me more money because more supports, but I prefer spending more money and having, like I said, a success for my print. I won't share my history for confidential reasons, but almost all my print are success because I prefer putting slightly more support, thicker support tips, and be sure it will work directly. But if you really want to save some resin, a small tip, if you go in support menu on top, you have some selection items, and you can select all the bracing supports. And as you can see, all your bracing, only the bracing have been selected. And then you can save a little bit of money when you have a lot of bracing on your model by putting a value which will be slightly lower for the thickness of your bracing. Then my bracing are thinner than my 3D model. Okay, I will start to finish this part and switching to the orientation for all the other model because a lot of things need to be explained before going back to the supports. I'm looking at the time, it's already 1 hour and a half that I'm speaking about all of that. I would like to keep this live stream around 2 hours, no more. Okay, then like I said before, the support for the beginning of my 3D model, you need to consider that really the first biggest part of your 3D model need to be very, very stable. The other part which will connect to this part, I would say need to be stable, but it's not that important. Why? Because everything will be connected to the head itself. What I mean by extra part which will connect to this biggest part, like the front part of the hairs, and sorry for my lack of vocabulary, I don't know all these words in English, but you know, this part start to grow alone. Of course, I don't have enough support on this location, but at least I know I will need to add more support later, but at this stage, roughly all the parts are connected to the main part. The main part is there, all this big area on this location. That's why this area needs to be well supported to be sure it will not move at all, will not break, and the supports themselves will be heavy enough, strong enough to keep everything in position. Then I will add more support, you see, at the beginning of all these parts, like that. There. And keep in mind as well that the further you are from the model, the stable it will be. If you put all your support on the center but not support on the side, then it may move like this. While if you have everything, it will just be stable. That's why putting a support, going far from the beginning, the starting point of the support is quite important. Meaning that I will go there, and I always look on my bottom corner there about the value between the distance between the selected support and the next support I will do. If I remove this one was selected, and now I'm at roughly almost 4 millimeters, which is not that much, but already quite a lot if we consider 30 microns layers and so on. I can go there, same for the other side, and if you notice, Lychee Slicer is displaying this checker, this orange and yellow checker. It just shows you where the areas are as close, I would say, to the horizontal, up to, I think, 30 degrees or something like that. This is very important to take that in consideration. And sometimes you need to add extra supports to help your model to be stable. If I want to summarize a little bit, in 3D printing, for resin 3D printer, you have 3 categories, I would say, of supports. By categories, I mean the purpose of these supports. The first one is to help an island to be connected to the ground. Then this, I would say, island support, which are the first one I created at the beginning of this stream, where I have a main island and I want to have a support. The second type of support is when you have some overhang. It was what I did for the neck there with surfaces you see here behind all these supports. You have the angle is not optimal, it's too close to the horizontal, and you need to have multiple support to help the surface to avoid any type of deformation. If it's too close to be parallel to the build plates, you will have all these waves which will appear on the model. Then you need to have a lot of support, multiple support to be sure it will assist, I would say, your layers to stay in position. Then these ones are not, I would say, critical, but they will improve a lot the quality of your 3D print. And the last one are what I'm calling, I'm naming them stability supports. They are not useful at all to help the print process or deformation, but it will help your model to stay in position, especially for large print, to be sure your model will not move at all, and then avoiding as much as possible this shift of layer that you may see time to time, this line which appear. It means that for this model, there, I may add some supports. Why not there, here? It may be more interesting to see that on the legs as an example, but these support there are not really needed, but I will put some support here and there to be sure it's keep everything in position as much as possible. But when where I put them, mostly in place where it's easy to cut them, and also if I'm sanding them after that to remove the marks of the support, to be sure the sanding process will not remove any type of details. I've been very careful when I click on this type of strain of hairs. I'm not very sure about the name of these hairs. It was one of the largest part on the extremity. Then it will be easy to sand on this location. Okay. Sorry, I'm lacking a lot of questions. Yes, I don't know how to say this arc bouton for cathedral. This support, this cathedral support. I'm sorry, I really like this vocabulary. I need to learn that in English. Okay. Now, let's conclude this 3D model about also the hollowing. As you remember, I did this hollowing process just before, and if you look at that, you may have inside the hollowing some islands as well. Don't forget them. Don't focus on small islands because it will be inside of the model. Then if you have some deformation, it's not a big deal, but it's important to avoid forgetting big island, because you see this one is quite far from the side of the model. Before connecting, then you may have some deformations, especially on this area there. Then always look at that. Meaning that I want to, what I want to do is to then look inside of this model. You have two possibilities. First is to revert the orientation of the clipping bar. If you look at the clipping bar handle, you have the bottom button there. If you click on it, you can switch the clipping bar to be on the other direction. And now the clipping bar is going from the bottom to the top. And like I said before, you can use the shift key to go one layer by one layer, or going down, 5 layer by 5 layer by pressing the shift key, like that. And then I can look at my island. Oh, I have one island there. Let me just go down here, see, like that, and adding, you see, some support here and there to support all my islands. Sorry. Another solution to look inside of your 3D model without using the clipping bar. Let me just go back to the default display of the clipping bar, going down to disable the clipping bar. You have in the prepare section the exterior mode. You click on it, and then you see everything inside of the 3D model, and then you can see all your islands, shapes, and all of that. Sorry, you will also see all the islands of the model, not only the islands inside. And then you can add more, adding your support based on your needs. By the way, if you have collision detection which is triggered inside of the 3D model, it's not a big deal because you won't lose any type of details. Meaning that here my support is very close to this location there. I don't care. Now, a last thing to know about this support inside of the hollowing. This is what we call object-to-object support. It starts from the object and goes to an object, not the floor, the build plate, and so on. The thing is, right now, my medium support, my tip size is 50 millimeters, and my support there, the contact point is 0.5 millimeters. And unfortunately, it may move like that if the support is quite big. What you can do, again, you have some selection mode in Lychee Slicer, selection. You can select support in hollowing. And now all these support have been selected, and I can say, oh, for this one, I can put the maximum size for the tip, and now I have big pillars. With 1 millimeter, my support will not move. And of course, I can do some bracing also inside of the model. Why I'm mentioning all of that? Because when I will switch and explain other models, I will go, of course, faster for the other part of the 3D model. I will use this strategy sometime to put this stability support inside of the 3D print and not outside, because the base will be, the foundation will be quite stable and the model will go up, and I will use support inside to keep everything stable and avoid having this support outside. I will try to show that with the leg. And I will stop right now for this head. I think I explained a lot of things at this stage. Let's move to bigger and other type of models. You see, I see someone, sorry, I just see the comment in the chat. I'm not really reacting to the chat right now. I see Print Run 5 say, I use 0.28 on medium when I try 0.2 on light support. Should be printable anyway. 0.1 on mini support option leaves almost no mark on the I think on the 3D model. Yes, I agree, but again, printing a mini 3D model and a large size 3D model is not the same at all. Why? Just the surface that you have in contact with the FEP is almost nothing. Then the forces applied to your 3D model are almost non-existent. Then yes, if I do mini support, I will go really down, and there is no need to do 0.5 or except when you have very large mini 3D model like big augers and augs. Very complex for me. Augers, big gaming print. Then you can try, if you want, to put 0.28, 22 for a large size 3D model, but you need to put a lot of support. In fact, the smaller will be the tip size, the higher you need to increase the density of supports. The thing is, a large size 3D print, you have more room to do the post-process of sanding and all of that. Okay, and something also that you need to consider, and I will explain that also later, that on minis, most of the time, you don't have a lot of multiple parts. It's most of the time a single 3D model, or you have two parts, which it's not very important if you have deformation, because if you don't put enough support, you may have deformation for your 3D model that you may not see because it may just move for 1 or 2 millimeters. If you already did some large size 3D prints, like the Godzilla print I presented before, I was kinda greedy on some support on areas where I had to do connection, and I have something like 3 or 4 millimeter gaps between my parts. And the 3D model did not have this gap, just because I didn't put enough support and I had deformations along the 3D print. Then that's why printing mini supports or large sized 3D figures like I'm doing right now, it's not the same approach. Okay, at least this is my way of working, and I know it's working for all the things I'm doing. Probably there is a lot of other techniques. Let me revert to the 3D model. Then I will stop the support part for this 3D model. Obviously, it's not done yet. You have a lot of support which are missing on the bottom part. As you can imagine, we will share on social medias I will be able to say that, sorry. The photos, sorry, of the final print. You'll be able to follow that after that. Let me switch back to other models and speaking about the orientation, like the skirts, legs and torso and so on. Okay, let me just do a quick break, few seconds, because I would like to share a link with you. I have a small survey, but sorry, I totally forgot to share that before. Jonathan, can you share the survey in the chat, please? Because it will be easier for you if you can share the short survey. Sorry, for people who are looking at the chat, we will share a very quick survey just to know what you think about the live stream, if it's interesting or not, if you learn something, well, if it's worth it to do more streams like that to help you learning new things about 3D printing and, of course, Lychee Slicer. Then please, if you can find that and do that for me, it would be great, Jonathan. Okay, now let me go back to other parts of the 3D model and speaking about the strategy of the orientation of your 3D model. And you will see sometimes it can be very tricky. I have the skirt here of Bayonetta. Let me just show you the 3D model, final 3D model. You see on the front, the torso will be a little bit on top of the skirt there, and behind you will have another part of the character, which is garnitures and stuff like that, which looks like hairs. Then for me this is important. Why? Because where is the front, where is the back? I know the front is there and the back is there. And like I said before, the back for me will be less visible. Then for me, it's more okay to put support in the back than in the front, first thing. The other thing is, I don't even need to put, to do the island detection. I know that from this orientation, I will have for all these small details, and you have a lot of them, you will need to have at least one support per item here. It will be a lot of small and small island that you will need to support. Another thing which would be important is, like I said, I need to have a stable model and put support. The best thing to do would be to put this support where I can easily send them, remove them without any problem. And what I see right now is, okay, the top will be connected to the torso. What I will do a 180-degree rotation, like that. And here, I know that I can put a lot of models, big model, because I forgot to put that for the head, to put some more heavy support to be sure it will be stable enough. And then I can look at my model islands. I will not spend too much time to compute the islands because I know where they are. I just did the job before. They are mainly on this decoration there, here, and almost that's all for now. No need to go in looking into the hollowing. There is no need to hollow the 3D model there. Okay, the survey will be shared in the chat. Like this, then no need about hollowing, just adding supports. And now I can add my support, but I forgot, okay, my model is connected to the platform, I need to lift it. And a small tip that you may not know, I have the manual island which is selected and I need to go in the utility. We have tabs there to display each section, but did you know that you can keep multiple tabs open together? Let's say you want to have the island and utility, press the shift key, you click on the tab, and now you will enable all the tabs together. And of course, if you click on another tab, it will just disappear because I didn't press the shift key with my little finger. Then go to lift, and now my model is not connected anymore to the platform, and I will need to have supports. And then for the orientation, like I said before, I can rotate slightly like that on the back to be sure. If I do that, you see I have multiple detail there. If I need to have small islands, you know, on this location, I prefer to have them on the back, small support on the back, eventually a lot of them, but not on the front because the front will be the visible part of the model. And sometimes just tilting slightly your model will be enough to do that. And I think you've been rejected, Julian, for the survey. Okay, because you didn't post it. I think the auto mod just removed the survey for the link, the chat. Sorry. Sorry about this technical stuff that we forgot to deal with before. Then My orientation, I would say, is done, and I will look at my supports. And as you can see there, I may have, you see, all these small islands. I'm not very sure, but a little bit more angle will be important. Like I said before, if you want to check that, what you can do, you go in the visibility option, layer thickness, and you zoom. And I press the F key if I'm way too close or too far. I was too close. Sorry, where am I right now? You see, we see all these small layers, but all these layers are connected to the adjacent 3D model. Then some people may want to add support, but again, if I'm using my support, even the light one, you see the size of my tip, which is 0. Sorry. Oh, I think I did override. I did a mistake. Sorry. Okay. You see, this is 0.35. This layer is the same thickness as my support. Is it worth it for just one layer? Not at all. Then I don't care. What I will care will be mainly, you see this type of shapes, which will start there. I will go with the medium size support, adding a little bit more. Like that. Of course, it starts there. I have to say that sometimes I'm not using the island detector when I'm starting to do my prints, because I really want to focus where I think this is very important. And at the end, I'm running the island detector just to check if I didn't forget something for the 3D model. Then you see the process is quite similar. Of course, you can, if you want, when you work with support, manually doing some parenting, or if you go in manual, you have the parenting there, and Lychee Slicer is able to parent some supports, or doing a parenting with everything. The thing is, I don't like using too much parenting when I'm doing this large size 3D model. Why? Because it makes your support a bit weaker, I would say, too weak, to not enough strength. Then again, I prefer to have few milliliters more resin, but sure that it will work totally fine. Then it's really up to you to use or not the parenting system of Lychee Slicer, or doing that, I would say, manually. You see, I see some parenting like that. Or what you can do is manually, when you create your supports, pressing the Alt key and then connecting like that to each part of your 3D model. And you see now, if you look at this part of my model, I may have also as well an island. Sure, I have an island there. You perhaps see the layer on the stream. We see this layer here to be an island. Will I take care of this island? No, because it's one layer of 30, 50 microns. It will not be visible. And like I said, I prefer avoiding putting support on this type of detail, because it's a lot of the tip will be way thicker, a lot of post-process, and I prefer, in fact, avoiding this support and keeping this resin for this support for another part, or adding another bracing, or to give more stability. That's why this is very important to always think for this type of model, is my my island is really needed to be supported or not. While the flowers there, you see, I may need to have few supports, even that. Okay, let me take this example. There, you see, for this decoration flower, it starts to appear there, 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers. After 4 layers, it connects to the adjacent geometry, which is connected to a bigger part. Then yes, you have an island, but as soon as it's connected to this location, this island is connected to something else. Then it will unstick from the FEP. It may be deformed slightly for this first layer where it's connected, but after the second or third layer connected, it will be strong enough. And I did so many prints where I compare with support and without support. Trust me, for this type of shapes, it's really not worth it to add a mini support or a support. It's more post-process for nothing. Then for me, it was a very good example. Then if I look at this model, let me just hide the layer thickness preview. What I need to do is more supporting this 3D model. Let's start with heavy supports like that. The base. I'm looking at, you see this, the preview of the layer, how wide is this preview. This is very wide, then it shows me at least that my layers will be very large. And like I said before, large layers need to have multiple supports. But here, on this location, having slightly deformation is not a big deal. I can sand, it won't be visible, but I need to be sure that the assembly will be fine enough. That's why I'm putting too many supports. But there, okay, if I have, I would say, some support to sand, not very important. Okay, now I put what I consider to be the most important one, and now I can use the support painting. Oh, it's quite dense. Let me change that to 3.5, I would say. And now I can just paint like that on this location. Like this. Okay, I don't forget the front side. And remember, a few minutes ago, I spoke about these stability supports. Very important. I will add, you know, on, let me look at the angle, like that. Some support that I will parent after that. Other support here. You know, this location, it will be just a connection with something else. Then I can easily send this support and going there. Like that, like I said, easy to send, no issue. Like that. Okay. And if I think that I need to have more stability supports, I would say on other locations, like even these flat areas, let me just switch to something which will be thinner, like medium support. I can do that. Why? It's a big flat area. Then very easy to do my modifications. And then I can do, if I want, some bracing, like I said before, brace my model. And sometime also I'm doing some manual bracing because I want to connect this one and this one, which are quite far. And let's say this one and this one, bracing. You see, it puts some extra bracing. But like I said before, for me, the stability is very, very important. Okay, and of course I need to spend more time in doing this preparation of all my support. What I did so far is something that I need to repeat, but I did a mistake. When I created this first support there, I was in heavy support. The problem is I did also heavy support on for the stability of these stability supports. It's not that, I would say, important to have, I would say, very strong supports. What I can do is to select my heavy supports. You see, all of them have been selected. And why not trying to, oops, sorry. Let me just redo this step. Sorry, support, selection, heavy support, and I can just unselect few of them. For me, the most important ones are, you know, these beginning ones, like that, like this one. Okay, I will do the last two one, and the other one I click on medium, and all of them now are back to be medium. Then don't forget that each time you have preset like that, you can go in support, preset, and at least selecting this preset. Or if you do, I don't know, some minis, let's say I want to have a mini going from there to there, it's not very smart, but let's say I have my mini preset like that. If you want to select all the support being mini, you have mini there, and you can select all, and then it will also select from the preset manager the support that you created through your preset. I will not explain a lot the preset manager in this video because it's a lot of things that I need to explain, but you can create as much as possible, as much preset as you want. You can only display 3 of them below, and you see this is this 3 small button. You can select, there that which one you want to apply. Oh, I switch to this one there. And you have more preset in your library, and you can at any time move them to this button there. Then you can manipulate and change all your preset all the time. Okay, then for this model, not a lot of things to explain, except one detail. When I did this orientation, I did my 180 degrees rotation, but perhaps I created a big suction cup. I have my holes there. If I look at my clipping bar, you see I have a suction cup there on this location, and it will disappear on this location. Do I need to do a hole? From the distance, I will avoid, I mean, it's not a big deal, I would say. I can run, like I did before in my hollowing, the suction cup detector. It will look at that, and of course, it will detect this problem. There you see I have this suction cup. I don't see other suction cup except on a very, very small location inside of the model. You can ignore that. Feel free for me to do, okay, I really want to avoid the suction cup. I can do a small hole, and now problem is solved. Another reason why I liked putting sometime the areas which doesn't have any details on the bottom like that. It's easy to add holes, supports, and so on. Okay, let me switch to other 3D model and the orientation, and I will explain other orientations later, because it's almost 2 hours that we are in this stream. Support. Why my clipping bar is going there? Sorry. The arms. Okay. I will do this one. Okay. If you want to have a good quality, going on the vertical direction is always the best, because it's easy on the printer to have thinner layers, and the horizontal resolution is, like I said, for my printer, 28 micron. Then it's very, very good. But for this model, if you look at that, I may have multiple issues that I need to consider. Oh, sorry, it was this one or this one? Oh no, I will use this one. I think it will be more interesting. Let's go on the top like that. Okay, great. Like this, I do my orientation. I can put my support on the key, the plug, to do the assembly. Like that, I can hide as much as possible my support, and avoiding having too many support on the visible part. I can go like that. Great. I can lift my model to be at plus 5 millimeters, like that, and I'm ready to do my job. Okay, what I want to do, I want to hollow my model. Perfect. I go in hollowing, free hollowing. This is an arm, not a lot of white apply on it. I will go to free for the quality, like that, and click on add update. Do the computation. It will rebuild my hollowing. I really hope that the stream is working well, because I lost everything for the stream. Okay. Waiting for that. Of course, the higher is the model, the more complex that will be the hollowing. And say, okay, my hollowing is there. I can add a hollowing blocker, like I said before, to avoid a hollowing there, and adding a hole just down. Like that, I put a hole. I can increase the size of the penetration. Why not increasing slightly the diameter? Okay, and now it should be perfect, because I have my hole going through the hollowing, and I just need to add support. Of course, the support job will be tricky, because I have a lot of multiple islands there. I think you see on this type of details. Not a big deal, but I need to consider these islands. You see, I really used to find all these islands on my 3D model. But there is a problem that you may forget. When I mentioned this hollowing and this suction cup effects, creating a hollowing can create this suction cup problem. But sometimes your model by itself has a suction cup. If I run the suction cup detector on this model, let's wait a little bit. Hello everyone, sorry, I know people are saying hi during the chat. I'm really looking at my screen. I don't really look at the chat. I'm very, very sorry for that. And yes, you see, I have a big suction cup on this location. Yes, the design is like that. And when it starts to print, I will have until this layer on this location is done, I will have a big suction cup. Then how can I remove the suction cup on the 3D model? Changing the orientation or adding a hole on the 3D model to avoid that. Or the other solution is easier. You can change the orientation of your 3D model like that. Let me go on the other side like this, and going perhaps slightly more like that. And if I check that, I have my hollowing, and you see I just have this small suction cup. I think this is acceptable before going to the next step. I hope the stream is fine, because YouTube is telling me that I have some drops. Just let me know if the stream is fine or not. Okay, thank you, Julian. Then, now that my my model has been oriented, this is just a matter of adding the support like before. Nothing, I would say, exceptional, I mean complex there. You have the support, medium. Like I said, we can run the island. I know I will have island on these locations, like I said before. Then nothing very, very complex. I will perhaps spend more time on the legs, which I think are the tallest part of the 3D model. Then nothing exceptional. Let me switch on skirt. I did that. Oh, the ornament. This one also is very tricky. It's very similar to the body that we did at the beginning for the 3D model. You remember, for the maximum scale of my 3D model, this Bayonetta model, I decided to cut the leg. And then I will cut my model, but for another reason. If you look at this model, it may be perhaps smarter to orient my model that way, like that, perhaps like this, and having most of the support just on top, because it will be on the back of my 3D model. And it may be a good idea. Also because the hollowing will be, I can put some holes there, and it will be an easy hollowing. Yes, but if you look at your model, there you have a lot of islands, and also on the other side of the 3D model. And it means that I need to have intricate supports in a lot of complex position. What I can do, let me just undo my rotation, like that. Like before, I go in the planar cut tool, I'll do my planar cut, going on this location, close to this area. Why not doing some angle like that, like this, and I cut my model in two. Now I have all these three parts, and I can separately doing my support. These parts are very small. They will be at the end of this decoration. It will be easy to glue them all together. It will be easy to do the support, and it's a lot of benefits. And now I can keep, in fact, my orientation of, these accessories that I just cut. Very vertical, like that. I can arrange them, let's say, put them there. And if I want to, let me just move them slightly to the top, 5 like that. Sorry, I put same value for both, like this. And I can look at the islands, prepare. Let me close that, islands, search for this one. By the way, don't forget to fill the survey. It will be very helpful for us if you can spend a few seconds to fill the small survey I share in the chat. It will be yes, very informative about this stream. Then now I have all my islands, and you see it's very easy to find them, not a lot, and some of them, like before, are just few layers. It means that, technically speaking, I just need to add few support there. Then this free support, I press my Alt and P key which is make pillar or right click, make pillar, support pillar, to be very vertical. I will add few supports, you see, on the side to give some stability to this part of the model. All of that don't need any type of islands. I'm just looking at which one are really island. Okay, this one I can one support, this one not really needed. This one, you see, it's very few support. In fact, why I'm adding support, it's more to give stability. I would say it's more interesting to put my support there and there than supporting my islands. Like that. And you see this, or perhaps I will add one, yeah, okay, this one, like that. Then if you focus only at this 3D model, okay, it will just grow there. This support will keep that stable. This is a very small surface, very small area, and now this support start to give more strength on my 3D model. And I can now doing some bracing, bracing there, okay, like that. Or if I want for the biggest one to have a better bracing, I can add this side bracing there. I want to customize my bracing, and this model now is done. If I wanted to do something on the opposite direction, let me just rotate, just for you to understand, sometimes it's really worth cutting a model and gluing it after that than trying to do a lot of supports everywhere about your 3D model. And I don't say this is always worth it, but sometimes it's really worth it. My islands, let me search for these supports. Let me look. Okay, good question. Which kind of glue worked best for resin print? The cyano, like crazy glue and all of that, the cyanoacrylate, glue. But something which is very important, you need to scratch your resin as much as possible. If it's really, really flat, it will have a hard time to glue, and you can use some accelerator, you know, this spray that you can project some water and bicarbonate powder that you can mix if you want to have some type of accelerator to really to stick. Or you can use bicomponent also glue, it can work. And you see now I just inverted my model. I have a lot more support, and all these small details need to be really supported because they will grow with more than 2, 3, or 5 layers before connecting to the main part of the 3D model. You see, then I just did this support being there for the real islands. The other islands, I just ignore them as much as possible, and other support are just here to help the model to grow. Here I have islands there, island there, islands, I mean a lot of islands. And on top of that, I need to support this base there, where I did my cut. And like I said multiple times during this stream, the cleaner will be the cut, the easier will be the assembly of your model without any type of deformation. And then it will avoid the need of using some putty or doing a complex post-process. Okay, and now if I look at I call that some hairs. I know it's not hairs, this is decoration, but for me it looks more like hairs. I will go probably to something like that. Let me just hide these two other shapes. Like this, move. Okay, let me move that to 5 millimeters, like this. And what I need to consider also is the angle of my 3D model, because there it will be as very close to the horizontal angle. Then doing a little bit more angle like that will be important. Another thing that I need also to consider again are the islands, because I have a lot of islands on the bottom, like the original, the head with all the supports below. This is exactly the same process, nothing is new on this location. And you see everything after that is working fine. No visible islands at this stage, just a little bit behind, which will need some few supports going up. And all of that don't need, all this part, they don't need any type of supports, but sometimes perhaps a little bit. I need to look, you see there, I need to have some supports, times some supports. But all this support that I will need to add just at the beginning for few layers, I don't need to put a lot of supports on this location because it will connect quickly to another part, and I have nothing below which present me to do a lot of support. But what is very, very important, let me just do an example. I will go with heavy support there and look at this beginning of parts like that. I'm just looking at one right now, not all of them. This one should be fine. Okay, there. I'm just using one support for the key. I would say I don't even need support there. Okay, and I put on purpose heavy supports. It was more to have a thicker diameter. Okay, now I would like to change a little bit. I will go to up to 0.6 support. And now I have a modified heavy preset. That's why I have this small asterisk star next to the title, meaning that in support, I can select support which are close to heavy support, means the settings are very close to be heavy settings. And now, what I can do is going in a more regular way of working. I'm using the mini supports, and I can doing some, you see, up like that, mini islands by using the Alt key Control Alt key to create the first one. Very thin one, 35 microns. All of that is just to avoid some deformations. They're not really to be to avoid, I would say, islands. Of course, it helps for the islands, but really to be sure that I won't have any type of stretch or deformed surfaces and all of that. Then you can add more, of course, it's up to you if you want to add more. It's really the foundation. I mean, I really show you, I would say, the basics. See, this one, maybe more tricky. This one is quite long. Okay. And as you can imagine, I can be a lot faster. It's because I'm trying to explain a lot of things while doing that. Then all of that is done. Now what I need to do is to do my bracing. And I will probably improve my bracing. You see my bracing, this one is fine. This one is alone. I mean, these two lines, you see, are, these two supports are aligned. And in terms of the height of these supports, let me look at the clipping bar. The top one is at 13 centimeters. It starts to be quite tall. Then for sure the support will move like that during the peeling process and moving up and down in the resin. Then what you can do is you can just connect these two supports, bracing, and as you can see you have this type of zigzag, I will say, this Z pattern, or if you want you can even add an extra bracing there, and then you have something which can be very strong and which will not move during printing, and then it will help your model to grow. I just did that for there. I think I will probably add an extra support there and there, of course connecting again the same way, doing this mini support to be sure that my hairs will not move and not deform along the model. I didn't do the hollowing. This is the same as before. I can add some holes there and there. I'll probably add some holes also at the end of this type of hairs to be sure it will be easy to clean inside my 3D model. Okay, and I will finish with two models very quickly. I have the legs, all these parts. The legs, what I explained here for the top bottom part is exactly the same to what I did before. The only thing I will do for the hollowing will be to add a hollowing blocker for the gun there, because I know it will be very thin and I will have a lot of resin pockets, then resin trapped in this small hollowing. Then let's try to avoid something like that. I will put my holes on the plug there, putting another hole there on the top to be sure I have a nice flow of resin for my hollowing, and doing something quite regular. The only problem will be probably for the decoration, a lot of islands. Then you need to add one sorry, like this, and doing like I did for the small hairs before for the decoration, adding some mini support to help. Then the process again and again is still the same. Now I'd just like to focus on more the hips and the top part of the legs, like here. I will not do the lift, not a big deal. I will just do the hollowing for now. I will not focus on the islands and all of that. I think this model needs no islands. But what I will do, sorry, before, I will like the torso, the skirt, I will do something like that. Because I want to keep as safe as possible my cuts where it will be really visible. Remember, I did a cut on the knees there, then the leg. Let me show back the leg. There, you see I did this cut. I really want to keep this cut as flat, as clean as possible to be sure it will fit perfectly. Then if I have supports on the other direction going on the bottom, you may have some deformations, the support marks, and don't have a perfect fit. And then more post-process by sanding, gluing, not gluing, but putty and all of that. Then changing the orientation sometimes also is worth it. And like before, for the torso, I can put a lot of support on this location. It's not a big deal. And the key here to connect everything, if it's slightly deformed, not a big deal. I can curl, I can cut, I can sand, and all of that. Okay, let me just do the hollowing of my 3D model. 3D hollowing, I will go still with 2.3. I'm always trying to stay between 2 millimeters for regular figurines when it's not that heavy, let's say a head or something which doesn't have a lot of white and don't have a risk of deformation. If I go back to, let me share some photos. Remember when I showed this figurine before, this one has been very tricky because what you see here is a kind of this tube. This is glass. This is a tube made in glass, you know, to agitate the chemical products. And it's something like this is behind, you don't see that in the background, this is too small, but the whole figurine is there. Then thinking about the hollowing, the white of everything was very critical to be sure it will not break. Then the thickness of everything was important. Then the thickness was quite, the legs are quite thick to be sure it will support everything, while the arms are very, very small thickness. The robot is a very, very small thickness, and so on, to be sure that it will be not too heavy and support the deformation along the line during can't find the word. In the future, you won't have any type of breaks or deformation and all of that. Then that's why it's important to always consider the thickness. Is your model need to be thick or not to resist in terms of deformation and all of that? Okay, then I go there, I do my hollowing. And sorry if I'm not very fast on my computer. My computer is 5 years old. It's not the best computer ever. And like I said, I'm running the streaming at the same time and recording the stream, which may be problematic. And what I wanted to explain before is about, and I will almost conclude the stream with that. I have another thing that I need to explain, are these internal supports. Like I said, I try to avoid as much as possible my supports outside of the 3D model. Let's say I put my main support, heavy one, this one there. Let's forget that because I did not lift my model. Anyway, consider I did my support on this location. I put all my support. Then there, everywhere, I can put easily support on this location or using, why not, the support painting, because my model, it will be under the skirt and it won't be visible. Then I have quite some flexibility. The problem is my legs start to be quite tall. And imagine if I was able to print on a taller printer. As an example, I have the Frozen Mega 8K, which is 30 centimeters for the height of the printer. I would have been able to print bigger and larger models. Then let me show you that about the A2 model. You see this one, you see compare a can of Coke or a regular bottle of resin. The leg there is a single part everything, sorry, no, I have two parts there, and I think I connected there, but it's really big part I print in the Mega 8K. And the thing is, if you want to avoid deformations, you need to add this stability support. The problem is you need to add this support outside of the model, but because of the angle, sometimes you can't put the support, and your supports need to be stable, need to stabilize everything, but they are far from the model. They are not very stable at this point. That's why it's really interesting to be sure that the bottom part of your model there is really stable. That's why I'm using thicker supports. And then inside of my 3D model, I can switch to the exterior mode. I will put supports like that, which will go from the bottom to the top, also on the side. Oh, sorry, not a mini like that, not worth it. Of course, look at the distance. This type of support is totally useless. It doesn't also prevent you to do manual support with pressing the Alt key and going on this direction like that, doing, let's say, some cross sections if you want. Then all type of support. And when you're done, you can, like I did before, select all your supports in hollowing. Sorry, I just did a right click. This one is very horizontal, not worth it. Let me just put that on this location. You can put your bracing and all of that if you want. Then support, you can put some bracing, and then preset, selection, brace, support in hollowing, and like I did before, having a large tip diameter or 1.5. Of course, you need to consider your thickness. And with that, you put some internal structure inside of your model, and your model by itself will improve it will auto-stabilize the 3D model. You don't need to put thousands of support inside because it's more resin. Right now, 1.5 is quite thick, I would say. 1 millimeter is enough, obviously. But I'm using a lot this technique to avoid support being outside of the 3D model. As soon as I know that from the outside, I have enough supports to be sure that if you look at the vertical alignment, you have enough support to be on the side of this bounding box. I would probably add more supports like this one, really on these locations there. You see, really on the boundary of my model to be sure this is fine enough. Then that's a lot of resin. I really understand that people say, it's a lot of support. Yeah, but again, I want the success of my prints, and I prefer more support than not enough. On top of that, you can add more bracing to be sure that it will connect all the support together. And what I will do at the end, we'll use a raft. Then you have multiple rafts in Lychee Slicer. I'm using a lot the triangular raft available only in the Pro version of Lychee Slicer, and I'm increasing the scale roughly to 150%. What I like about this raft system, that all the supports are connected together. And because they are all connected together, when you use your spatula, and I'm using specific spatulas, and I just have one of them. I'm using this one, and a very small one, which are the best one I ever found. I know they're on Amazon US and Europe and all of that. They're very thin, and I can just start to lift slightly one part of the raft, and then using this big spatula to remove everything. I never in my life I use a hammer, or you see some people in videos trying to unstick. Never had any type of issue. The only thing that I thought I did for this preset, but since I moved a lot of the settings, and you need to think that about an update to your support. Let me go back to the base, joint count. I don't know why I forget them like that. When you put your joint count, you need to slightly update the raft value. You can put 151, whatever, and then it will update. And now I will say your model is ready to be printed with more support, obviously. Don't forget, I did my hollowing. Don't forget to put your drain holes to avoid the suction cup, sorry. But my goal here was to explain about these internal support, which are here only to stabilize the model. And then to conclude, I will just switch to these custom bases. Perhaps not this one. Whatsoever the base, because they are almost all the same. I don't know which one. Okay, let's pick an easy one because the process is exactly the same as before, nothing very complex. The problem with the base is that it uses a lot of resin because they are thick. You need to hollow them, you need to give some angles. By the way, to be sure it will connect it will how can I say that? The assembly will be, of course, working perfectly. I will use some time at the end after that to do some Q&A, obviously. Sorry, it's really a very long monologue. I'm just talking alone. But you see, I'm looking about where I need to have supports. And to be honest, I think that I have no islands on this model except the beginning here. Let me lift 5mm, adding my supports. For a base like that, probably I will use my medium supports there. And it's worth now using the inline supports. I didn't use this feature since the beginning because it was really organic, but we have in Lychee Slicer Pro this inline support which will put some support at a regular distance. Let me just switch to 3mm, and by using the shift key, I'm able to click to select a support, shift pressed, and I can quickly add some supports like that. Like boundaries, I can do something like that in between, and that's it. If I want to do something for this model there, okay, like that, there, and if you want to fill that very quickly, now I can use a support painting, and you see, just drawing like this my supports. I do that very quickly. I can use my pen. Sorry, I don't have my pen. I'm on the pen tablet right now, a Wacom pen tablet, but my pen are not in this room. I'm sorry, but you can use the pressure of your tablet to do all your supports. You can increase the density. Let's be honest, having 3mm for a base like that is way too much. I mean, too dense. I will keep something a high density for the boundary there, and then perhaps I will switch to 5mm to do all my supports in support painting. And I don't try to be very accurate on this by using this tool, because while I'm doing this click and drag, Lychee Slicer will not add supports closer to existing ones during the same stroke. Meaning that if I'm not going too close to the boundaries of my 3D model, everything I'm doing there will be just paint with a kind of regular space. It will not add supports which are really close to each other. Now I'm done, and I can do my bracing for my model like that, and I have a forest of supports ready to be used. I didn't I didn't hollow my model before. Obviously, you need to do the hollowing on the base, and I mentioned a few minutes ago about thinking about the thickness for the base. It's a lot of resin. Really, that's the problem with bases. It's a lot of resin. You can save with hollowing, but you need to be very careful about the density. The thickness of your hollowing and the density of support. And this is where I'm using most of the time the 3D hollowing. Okay, let me hide all these supports. I select all the supports, I click on this small eye icon, and I hide everything. I'm going in hollowing, using the 2D hollowing, clicking on, you have a preview. A thickness, I will go to 2mm. Okay, and I have a density, perhaps I will go slightly lower, and you have some, these patterns. And it will do a kind of infill, like you have in 2D printers, to fill everything. You can change the density. For me, density may be too high. See, like that. Okay. You can change the pattern if you want. Okay. And I just need to add, of course, my holes. And I already read the comments in the chat. I had some holes to be sure that I have enough hollowing of my model. Of course, you need to do your holes before the support, or you need to remove the support, which will go inside of your holes after doing that. And people will say, yeah, but if you do something like that, you will have holes, and your support, your infill inside of your hollowing will connect to nothing. It will create islands. Yes, but in reality, your infill will quickly connect to another infill which exists and will unstick to the build platform, and it will work perfectly. We did that dozens and dozens of times. Don't be afraid. Of course, the only concern, if you do a big hole, a gigantic hole on a big plate with a 3D hollowing, yes, it will be too far to really snap and connect. But if you do regular holes up to 1 centimeter, 10 millimeters, it will work totally fine. Then don't be afraid about using the 2D hollowing, and don't be afraid about this risk of having non-supported infill. And again, the infill is only to give some strength to your print, not really to be nice. Then don't be concerned with all of about all of that. I think I explained a lot of things, more than expected. I really hope that this stream has been a good source of information for you about Lychee Slicer. I'm sorry I can't do everything for such 3D model. I think that I could take something like 2 hours to prepare such model in Lychee Slicer if I don't have the talk and all of that. It can be very fast, but it's only repetitive for some steps. That's why I didn't repeat everything. Please, if you have some questions, take a little bit of time to look at the chat. I will try to answer some of them. I know some of them may have been already answered, and I'll do my best, and I will switch to the full camera and try to, but not forgetting to switch to Lychee Slicer if I need to show something on the screen. And by the way, please feel free to fill this small survey that I'm sharing in the chat. Like that, it would be great. Like that, I can gather some feedback from you, because I would like to do more streams. And sometimes streams may be not about preparing a 3D model. It may be in child mode with just music in the background, me preparing, and sometimes jumping in the chat. Perhaps we'll do that on Twitch. Or it can be something about talking about tools. Like, I don't know if you see that on screen, but I have a lot of Japanese tools and all of that to speak more about the post-process of 3D printing, resin printing, putty, all this type of stuff. I have, like I said, dozens and dozens of tools that we can use to do some post-process. Let me look at the questions. Sorry, perhaps I will answer some questions a little bit late. Nico is put a comment: inside support are a bit randomly placed. Then I will not always put them randomly. I will just go back to the legs, and I think this is what you want to speak about, and I need to bring back the camera there. When I did my support inside of the leg here, I put that, I would say, half randomly. I try to do a kind of even distribution of my supports, and sometimes doing my cross support, but it really depends on the shape of my model. If it's very vertical or I have some angles, I will not use the same strategy. But having some support, if you have a very very vertical model, you really need to cross your supports, because if it's only vertical, it will go from the bottom to the top but connect nothing on the side. And if you click on the side with a support, it will just go to the bottom, but your support will move a lot and not be really useful. You must think about how you can give stability to your model. If I give you an example, this is, I will switch to the full screen. This is an arc, LED arc. You have some light. This is a model I created in Fusion 360, and I wanted to have this design first because I'm a French guy and I like the Eiffel Tower style and all of that, and also because of stability. All these elements makes this arc being very, very stable. you can't see that, but next to me, this one is 60 centimeter for the width, and I have another one there which is 120 centimeter, and the one next to me is a double one. I have 2 rows of an arc like that with a lot of LEDs, which is great if you want to do some process, with all the 3D printing post-process, painting, sanding, and all of that. And that's why you need to think about stability to give some strength, while it's a resin print which need to support its own weight. And the big one is quite heavy. Sorry, it's slightly off topic. And you can find this model on my 3D Cult account. Anyway, this is a side discussion. Let me look again at the question. For the spatulas, for the stream, we will probably repost the stream. We will re-upload the stream on the YouTube channel. And in the description, I will put the link to the spatulas. Or if you want to read French, you can go on my personal YouTube channel, which is Poly Workshop, and look at any type of videos related to 3D printing I'm doing for resin printing. You have that in the description. This is named Spatu in French, which is very close to spatula. You should find the link. And I guess someone can put the link to my YouTube channel. A lot of people may know it, but it's in French, like I said. Let me look up. I see a lot of questions has been answered already. Okay. Anyway, I think I will stop there because it's already quite late here in France, and of course, this is the end of the stream. I really hope that you enjoy this stream. I really enjoy doing it. I hope also that my English, and let me know in the chat if it was fine, because I'm not a native English speaker. As you can see, I have a strong French accent. I love the croissant and c'est beau la vie. Sorry, this is very common French word that you may know. Then, do you want more streams like that? We want to do more streams. More people in the team will do also streams over the time. As you can see, we are not in the office. It's not a very high class stream, I would say. But we want to do more, and we want to exchange more with the community. Then stream is the best way. And perhaps sometime we'll do some Q&A streams. You come with your questions, and we try to answer them as much as possible. Then please let us know. And thank you very much for your time. Please enjoy Lychee Slicer. Feel free to join our Discord server, which is mango3d.io/discord. You can find the link in this video description as well. We have something like 17,000 on the Discord server, or 18,000. Quite a lot of people we can exchange. This is where we share also all the new beta version of Lychee Slicer. And when we speak about beta version, this is mainly about new features, and we have quite some nice stuff in progress. And of course, you can exchange with the team. Most of the team is on Discord. Then this is really the best place. You can follow us on social media: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and of course YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much, and enjoy 3D printing. I think this is the most important. Thank you very much. Bye bye, and see you soon.